Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button for me. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody who wants to share some love. All is appreciated. And of course, the StreamYard link is there for anybody who wants to join the panel. Today, we're talking about defining the dollar. So first, we're going to look at House Joint Resolution 192. As we get into it. So let me pull that up. Okay. All right, and here we go. House Joint Resolution 192, as you can see over here to the side, published resolution number 10. It says, of course, chapter 48, stat 112, to assure uniform value to the coins and currencies of the United States. So as we're looking at this, it's to assure that there's that term grant, to grant, uniform, one form, to grant one form value to the coins and currencies. So are Federal Reserve notes a currency of the United States? They most certainly are. It's one of the currencies of the United States. What are some of the other currencies of the United States? Well, that would be under 18 U.S.C. 8, obligations and other securities of the United States. Those are the various different currencies of the United States. And again, I want to remind everybody before we continue any further that that very code includes the plain writing statement, stamps, and other representatives of value. Says, whereas the holding of or dealing in gold affect the public interest and are therefore subject to proper regulation and restriction. And whereas the existing emergency has disclosed that provisions of obligations which purport to give the obligee, that's you and me, the people, we're the ones they are obligated to. So which purport to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency of the United States, or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby, obstruct the power of the Congress to regulate the value of the money of the United States. So we still hold that right to demand payment in whatever form we want. But we have to be able to do that through our negotiations. So if we want payment in gold, we have to set out the standards of that payment. How much is it going to, how much gold are we requiring, what the weight measure is, all that kind of stuff. This here is in relation to currency of the United States. We can't tell them that if they owe us a debt, which is that obligee owes a debt, or the obligation is owed to the obligee. So if we say they owe us a debt, we can't demand payment in gold from them. Okay? Because they're limited. See, it's not a limitation on our right to demand payment through a legal tender, a negotiation. This is actually helping us enforce that negotiation in being able to determine what we can use for payment. In or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby to regulate the value of the money of the United States and are inconsistent with the declared policy of the Congress to maintain at all times the equal power of every dollar. coined or issued by the United States in the markets and in the payments of debts. So what is the definition of dollar? They don't ever define a dollar. The only place a dollar is defined in the modern day is under the treaty of, not the treaty, it's the protocols, I believe, of the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union, wherein they declare the Swiss franc. Used to be the French franc, now it's the Swiss franc. That is the measure of a dollar. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation, that's their rules and regulations, and they are obligated to the people, that every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation which purports to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency or in an amount in money of the United States measured thereby is declared to be against public policy. So we can't even demand as an obligee a particular amount in money of the United States. It's their money. We can't demand it. It's called negotiations for a reason. Is thereby declared to be against public policy, and no such provision shall be contained in or made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Every obligation heretofore or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provision is contained therein, excuse me, or made with respect thereto, shall be discharged upon payment, dollar for dollar, in any coin or currency which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. So what we have today, folks, is a blank piece of paper that is literally known as legal tender. And all you have to do is write down your terms and conditions on it. I will extend the credit for payment of $148.73 by using this legal or this negotiable instrument as legal tender as a matter of extending credit, so that all shall understand that the payment by the customer for third-party obligations is understood to be an extension of credit from the customer, and therefore the credit must be returned to the customer. It is not to incur a debt or defer a debt. It's just like, greetings, John. How you doing today?
Good, Keith. Doing good. So you're saying that this cotton currency that we're using right now doesn't even specify what species, nor does it have a payment date that both parties could agree on.
Nor an amount. Remember, it's just a blank piece of paper. You get to do all of it. But in getting to do all of it, you have to know all of it. And so what we've got is a system of negotiations where nobody's taught how to negotiate. They're taught to remember certain things that will allow the system to keep running, and so they can turn around and demand a certain species or amount of money, which neither one are valid. Remember, it talks about the amount and the type here. So it's discording both of those elements. So we have to understand the terms and conditions in legal tender today, which includes the term dollar. We have to understand where that dollar comes from in that system. And since I don't have access to that actual dollar and then be able to use that actual dollar in negotiations unless it's further defined. So I can go to a coin shop and I can get a silver dollar. That's defined as a dollar, according to the weights and measures. But in order for me to use that in a contract as a way of payment, I have to break down that dollar weight to show that that is a dollar based on this year when this was written, and that weight and measure stayed the same. But the valuation system as a fractional floating rate note system has changed those values while that dollar itself remains in value.
All
Does
right,
that
so
make sense?
FRNs, okay, so like the FRNs as they are like floating rate promissory notes, Keith?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely. And
and
so,
it's a compelled benefit. I see.
correct. And so the compelled benefit is the acceptance of United States monetary system, and that negates your own evaluation system. So when we learn how to do these contracts and realize that that blank piece of paper is commercial paper, which we can write our negotiations on, we can use that, like it says in their other codes, informed use of credit, which is ours, not United States dollars, not Federal Reserve notes, not obligations and other securities of the United States. That's a dependency. When we can start bringing our own value forward first as the creditor, showing that all credence goes to him, he's the one that made that gold. So if you want to put that value in that gold, you have to accept that it's from him. See, again, even the credit that I'm extending is merely an extension of credit from him. It doesn't belong to me. Just like that United States dollar doesn't belong to the United States. It's an obligation of the United States, and they are obligated to us. So again, it belongs to us, even in that sense. So as we continue on, it tells us, it says dollar for dollar in any coin or currency, which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. That's today is the legal tender is negotiable instruments. That is a currency. That is a currency telling them that you assure them that the facts in that document are current. They're not from 1921. They're not from 2050. They're current now. That's the point of that grant. That grant is an assurance that it's true and factual now. It goes on to say any such provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States is hereby repealed. Any such provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States is hereby repealed. But the repeal of any such provision shall not invalidate any other provision or authority contained in such law. So they're telling you the United States has no authority to issue anything. Read it again. Any such provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States is hereby repealed. So if the judge is sitting there under the laws and authority of the United States, creating an issue of an obligation, is it valid?
Well, no, Keith.
Absolutely not. It can't be. They're using the United States as the issuer, and it says right here, it's been repealed. Any such provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States, who are the only ones through Congress that can lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, excises, and coin or mint money or currency. It's been repealed. The states don't have that authority either, because that Constitution, after being repealed in that aspect, never delegated that power to the states. Therefore, it relies and remains in respect to the people who originally made all of these delegations of power. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be credit. So what the hell are all these
Absolutely.
floating? Yeah, all these I call them floaters. A lot of words are associated with water. You know, it's like I don't live on water.
Well, what is a bank but a levy? You really want to keep banking? If you realize those terms, as John just said, when we're talking about Admiralty Maritime, it's all about water terms, and we have currency, and it floats down the river beds where everything lies. All the value actually lies in the beds of the banks or the beds of the rivers, and on those rivers, on the sides, you have levees that are called banks. A bank is a levee is a bank. It's the same damn thing. One is natural, one is man-made. It goes on to say here, the last part, as used in this resolution, the term obligation means an obligation, including every obligation of and to the United States, accepting currency payable in money of the United States, and the term coin or currency means coin or currency of the United States, including Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations. So if it says payable in money of the United States, and the term coin or currency means coin or currency of the United States, then if we have to use money that doesn't belong to us, how do we get that money? There's an exchange there somewhere, folks. They can't just say, well, we're going to loan you money since you've worked for us all your life and we need to pay you. So we're going to loan you the money that we need to use to pay you so you can give it back to us as a loan. That's not the way it works. We have inherent credit in that monetary system because it can only get its value of those United States notes, again, from the labor, the sweat equity labor of the people, because they can no longer get the coin and silver of the people by those deposits. It's all done on credits now. See, that's why they repealed that gold and everything. If they keep taking the money of the people through the substance, then the people will recognize it. If they can do it underhandedly through an underlying obligation, they can appease the people by letting them have materialistic things, but still control the underlying elements and therefore be able to come in and take anything they want from those people because they haven't been learned of that underlying element, and that's the credit system. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, is there under Title 12, Keith? Isn't there supposed to be an exchange for like a debt swap?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an exchange, and that's what people don't understand. The exchange already occurred, but you're not getting anything in return for that exchange because nobody recognized the exchange for what it was because it wasn't qualified. The enumeration at birth. That should have been the extension of credence, the creed. Remember that? The creed, the diplomacy, the spirit. It was the creed as it goes to credence and the credit and the spiritual merits, or the merits, which is the spiritual credits. And nobody's recognizing that, and that's all that really needs to be done at birth. Go ahead and do that birth enumeration. We'll let them know that that is a standing foundational document in their system that is evidence of this document that sits in private that shows where it came from. It didn't just automatically poof out of thin air, because that's what their system relays right now. There's no origin except that informant document. It says it just came out in the middle of some kind of event, and all of a sudden, here, poof, a man is born. No, a man was discharged of his mother's waters, and a living soul was never memorialized. And that's the missing element. So when we realize that all this documentation is merely a abstraction of what the true creed is, which creates the false element, the person. That's why he's no respecter of persons. It's a false element, and it's portrayed as truth, and nobody's stepping up and expressing the truth. To be honest, I can understand how mom was induced through a spell of illness through inpatient hospital treatment and forgot to announce that, hey, I'm so glad. I praise God. He gave me this gift of communion with my husband, and we came forth and we became creators just as he created us. Ye are gods. In the simple basic measures, ye are gods. You forget to act like it. So the next one I want to look at, and this comes from ecclesia.org. Ecclesia.org. And I got to look at something else here real quick. Make sure I've got this lined up. Okay.
Have you ever studied how many words, Keith, are associated with money and water? It's endless. You're flush with cash. There's credit freezes, cash flow. There's bailouts.
Absolutely. List. What's a list? That's when a vessel is not balanced and it lists to one side. People don't think about this stuff. And it's amazing that once you learn these maritime terms and how they are related to the vessels and waters and stuff, you'll see how your life has been manipulated as if though you are a vessel of fiction. It's like somebody acting like God made a paper airplane and is now sitting there picking it up and throwing it around all over the place. Same thing with a vessel. It's like this government has made a vessel out of you, and it's sitting there shoving it down this river or that river, making it shipments for them. Same concept. So it says here on ecclesia.org, as time goes on and society falls further and further into captivity under the heathen, the majority continue to willingly accept the debasement by the heathen of that which was at one time lawful money. That debased money is still referred to as dollars. But are they in truth dollars? When we examine what dollar means, the definition of what still applies today, we find that the heathen have a problem when confronted with truth. Dollar as a noun, originally the German Thaler. Hence, any of the various large silver coins resembling it. A United States coin, which since 1837 has been made of 412.5 grains of silver at 0.900 fine. Except for the design, it is nearly identical with the old Spanish dollar. It was first issued in 1794, and that's on page 658 of the 1935 Webster's New International Dictionary. There are no statutes that have changed the original definition of a dollar. Thus, the law's modern circular definition. Dollar. the money unit of the United States of the value of 100 cents, or any combination of coins totaling 100 cents. That's Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, 1990, page 483. Cent, a coin of the United States, the least in value of those now minted. It is the 100th part of a dollar. Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition, 1990, page 224. If someone gave you a receipt, and I want everybody to pay attention here, this is very important. If someone gave you a receipt for 10 quarts, what would be your first question? Would it not be 10 quarts of what? Quarts is a unit of measurement, like dollars are a unit of measurement. Therefore, when someone demands that you pay $10, we should inquire, $10 of what? Or we should at least ask them to define the term dollars. Our Father is the God of righteousness, not unrighteousness. Hence, Michael Eugene's diligent inquiry into the whole matter. Now, we're going to get into this. But first, I want to point something out here. I want everybody to take their phone out. Let's pull this up. Let's do this. 0.01 times 0.01. I'm going to share my tab so you can see this. On any calculator, if you take 0.01, which is the representation of a penny, 1 penny, and multiply it by 1 penny, knowing in the real math, or in the math that we were taught in school, I can't even call it real math anymore. In the math that we were taught in school, it says 1 times 1 equals 1. I'm telling you that too is false. Just like this here shows you on the Dewey Decimal System, 0.01, which is the representation of that 1 penny, 1/100th of a dollar. So you're going to take that 0.01 times 0.01, and guess what? You no longer get 0.01. As regular math would say, 1 times 1 is 1. So when you take 1 cent times 1 cent in the Dewey Decimal System, you get 1/100th of a cent. In other words, you get 1,000th of a cent. How is that? How is it you take something by itself and multiply it by itself and get less than what you get when you what you had when you started? Isn't that a division? Think, people.
Could be a lot of zero too, Keith. Like 0 times 1 is 0, But I don't know.
Yeah. And how do you take 1? Already have Terrence Howard speaks on this. How do you have something that is a whole and is a factual thing, multiply it times 0, and end up with nothing? Does that mean the original 1 thing in whole all of a sudden just disappeared? See, there's something wrong with the math. So let's go back and take a look at this dollar thing. As this guy explains, Michael Eugene, the following is a testimony I give, not to glorify or receive glory upon myself, but to honor and acknowledge the glory of our Father and his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. He's coming with equity. He's mentioning the very spiritual credit where it comes from to begin with, which is the very topic that we should have in everything we do in life. Where is it coming from? What is the foundation of truth in it? That's the credence. A few years ago, upon awakening and accepting the Holy Scriptures as truth and the infallible Word of God, the Lord has led me to the knowledge and understanding of how the system works and how it's set up and based on lies and deceit. One of the deceits is the use of Federal Reserve notes. Their own writings say that the Federal Reserve note is worthless, being backed only by the faith and credit of the American people. Again, where do you think they get it? They're telling you where they get it. They get it from you. If it weren't for you, they ain't got nothing.
So they should call them full faith notes of the people.
I would prefer something like that for sure. So it goes on to say, from the Federal Reserve pamphlet, the fractional reserve system. The fractional reserve system. Let's pull that up. See if we can find it. Let's put it like this. Well, come on. I've got two links I pulled up. This first one here is from the government site. So go ahead and check that one out, guys. And the other one is from the Federal Reserve site. Now, the one is from the government site is twice as long. Excuse me, half as long as the Federal Reserve one. So they're going to be using different languages and but mostly the same kind of terms and stuff. And it's good information. 150 pages for the Federal Reserve one, and 75 pages for the government site one. So feel free to go through, read those, and get yourself familiarized with what fractional reserve banking is. So it goes on to say, so upon finding out about this, and after reading what the Word says about separating myself, I changed my mode of conduct. This is what I did 8 years ago when I said I finally said I'm done with it. I've got to do something different. And this up here is what I found out. Same thing. That what they're doing is deceitful, and I'm not gonna. I certainly had a reason to stop doing what I was doing, and now I'm hopefully being able to go through and correct it. It says when I would go to the market and was asked to pay a certain amount in dollars, I would raise the issue of dollars with them and say, I don't have any dollars, but I do have Federal Reserve notes. They would usually ask, what the heck are those? See, everybody does not a lot of people understand that those are Federal Reserve notes. They still, to this day, decades and decades later, they are still calling them dollars, because nobody reads this and understands that they are definitely not dollars. They do not say $1. It says one Federal Reserve note. Let me see here.
The Spanish word, right?
It says $1 on the bottom, but it's known as a Federal Reserve note at the top. Okay, that Federal Reserve note with these two seals and both sides of the national seal on the back. Let me get rid of my screen thing here. See, this is an agreement between the Federal Reserve and the United States of America for the issuance of $1 fractional reserve note dollar for dollar, I'm supposed to be able to take this to a Federal Reserve window, say, hey, listen, I'm one of the people. As one of the obligees, I'm holding an obligation of the United States. I need to have this converted into credits. That's the redemption. That's a special deposit of a Federal Reserve note into an account so they can have their property back. But in that equal exchange, I get dollar for dollar a credit in return. One of these for a credit. Every one of these I turn in, I get a credit. That's how it's supposed to work. It's simple. It's like turning in a coupon and I get a discount at the store. I turn in that coupon, it takes some off. In this situation, I turn this in. I'm not buying anything at the Federal Reserve. I'm turning it in so I can get that original issue discount back through a millage rate. Not a percentum, not a 0.01, but the true millage rate, dollar for dollar. So let's continue on.
It's not important, but like the seals, I think the left one might be authorization and the right one is the ownership of the note, but I don't know.
Yeah, this one here, which is Federal Reserve. Like I said, it's an agreement with the Federal Reserve and the United States. Washington, D.C. The United States is located in Washington, D.C. These here are the Great Seal of the United States of America. Okay? This is the seal of the United States. Okay? That's different than the seal of the United States of America. So you have United States of America as the grantee. You have United States as the trustee. You have the Federal Reserve as a co-trustee. Anybody using these are beneficiaries. Okay. So we go back to it, and it says, then I would show them a Federal Reserve note and ask them, will you accept these as fair and righteous payment? They would agree. Time passed. I had received a notice of registration for the so-called vehicle and to pay the taxes upon it. But again, remember, this is one of those things I pointed out. You don't have to pay the taxes on it unless you have a handwritten statement of your intent to take upon the tax ownership, agreeing that 50% of the use of the motor vehicle will be for your trade or business, which is the performance of the functions of public office. So again, even before we get to that issue, to pay the taxes upon it, you have to explain, I'm not going to give a handwritten statement of consent, because I understand that I have to be agreeing to perform the functions of public office, which I don't have an oath for. Okay? It says, I was led by the Spirit to go to the Frontier County Courthouse and took with me the piece of paper that claimed I owed the state of Nebraska a fee, and also a fee for the vehicle license plates, so-called. I approached the desk of the treasurer, and a lady came up to the window. The conversation went as follows. Treasurer, oh, you're here to renew your tags and taxes. Well, first of all, I have a few issues to raise. If you want equity, you must first come with equity. You got to start asking questions, folks. Okay, what are they? Well, first of all, the name on this piece of paper is spelled in all capital letters. And it might sound insane or profane or just idiotic, but it's a very succinct point. Again, I will call an English major in to testify on the stand that can't possibly be a name if it's a title. Styled in all upper capital letters, that is not a name. It is a title showing that somebody is entitled through their name to something. And that isn't how my name is spelled. Therefore, this isn't my name. And he's absolutely correct. This is the same thing I found out. Therefore, says Treasurer, do you still want your tags to get your tags and pay your taxes? Well, I have another issue to raise before we can go forward. See, she's just totally ignoring the fact that that's not his name. You're asking me to register a motor vehicle in something that's not my name. Well, do you still want to get it? Fucking stupid. This is how cognitive dissonance sets in, and they just don't even pay attention because they're just doing their job. They're intent on getting money from someone paying for their tags. They don't care what about the other details. They don't care about the definitions. Are you going to pay for your tags? Are you going to pay for your tags? Are you going to pay for your tags? Hey, if you don't pay for your tags, I may not get paid myself. Are you going to pay for my tags? Are you going to pay for your tags? That's all they're doing. They want payment, and we have no way to pay. Well, I have another issue to raise before we go forward. Okay, what is the next issue? On this piece of paper is printed a tax fee of $5 and a registration fee of $20 for a total fee of $25. What is that? Let's read this again because I get caught up in it myself saying things that aren't there, as you just noticed. On this piece of paper is printed a tax fee of $5.00 and a registration fee of $20.00 for a total fee of $25.00. What is that? There was no dollar signs or anything to indicate what I was supposed to pay or owe. And this is why I say you got to really pay attention to catch those kind of things. Because a few years ago, the local medical associates around here tried to tell my companion that they were going to deny her medical services unless she paid the bills. So I, as her trustee, wrote a nice little letter explaining that we needed a true bill. So they kindly sent us a true bill, but it had the exact same thing on it. All these numbers with no dollar sign. No mention of a dollar anywhere. A bunch of minus signs. No pluses, no multiplications, no divisions, no nothing. And it literally created an impossible mathematical equation. So I wrote on it, or I wrote a letter back to him accepting it for value. Since I couldn't figure out what they were saying, to me it had zero value. And if they had any controversy with that, they were to write back and explain it to me so I could see the value, because otherwise it has no value. And it's been 3 years. You want to be stupid and send out documentation professing that you know what you're doing and I'm just doing my job and you owe this bill, and then can't discern the bill, then you might want to try to find a new job. Because this is the kind of shit that's going to start happening now. We're going to start asking these questions of people that are just doing their job, and they're going to start handing the paperwork off to their boss, and their boss is going to look at it, and they're going to hand it off to their boss, and sooner or later, people are going to find out that there is a reason for communicating with concise English. It's so we can avoid the stupidity. The next one, it says, oh, those are dollars. Well, I would be more than willing to pay this because that is why I'm here. If you say I owe you something, then I must render to you a fair and righteous payment. Can you please define what a dollar is? Oops, now they have a problem. Knowing that Federal Reserve notes are not dollars and cannot extinguish a debt, they're promissory notes. So even though it says $1 on it, it's not saying that this itself is $1. It's saying it has a value of $1. This is not a dollar. This is a promise of a dollar. How? Redemption. A special deposit where they're obligated to give credit. The clerk the treasurer says, I will not play this game. Hey, all I'm doing is asking you to define what a dollar is. And now you say you don't want to play the game. You're collecting all these dollars, but don't want to define what a dollar is. It sounds like you're the one playing games, and you're playing games with other people's lives and values. And when they question it and want to put an end to that game, you want to say, I'm not playing this game. But you're readily willing to play that 9 to 5 game all day long if it's to your benefit. It's funny. He says, I assure you, I'm not here to play a game. If you want these things, then you'll have to pay us in dollars. Well, I'm here to pay, but until you define what you are asking for, there is no way that I can make payment. How can I pay you if you don't define what you are asking me to pay you? You are harassing me. I'm going to call the sheriff. Asking them to define what their expectation is not harassment. Okay, call the sheriff if that's what you're led to do. But I'm here in peace. I'm not here to antagonize anybody. You say I owe you something in order for me to get these things. And if I am to pay you, then you must define what it is I owe you. You can't leave it open and say I owe you a dollar in Federal Reserve notes, and that leaves it open that I still owe you because I never paid you. I gave you a promise to pay. Understand what we're doing, and it will help you discern how to question these things. If I'm giving you a note that says I promise to pay, then am I paying you in dollars? No, I just gave you a Federal Reserve note saying that I will pay you in the future. If this is payment now, then why am I supposed to owe you in the future? And if this is a payment for in the future and I'm able to use it as a payment now, what do I get in return? How is this discharged? Treasurer, looking at the phone, then looking at me, then looking at the phone, then looking at me. Well, if you want these things, you'll have to pay us in dollars. Well, until you define what a dollar is, I cannot pay. So I guess these tags are yours. And he's absolutely right again. Same with that license that they tell you they require you to have a license, but what do you got to do? You got to pay them in dollars, right? Well, if I can't pay you in dollars because you can't define what a dollar is, then obviously the license isn't mine. It isn't mine until I can definitively pay for it. So when you got that license and you gave them Federal Reserve notes, you did not pay them for it. The conversion, so you get your credits in exchange for the Federal Reserve notes, never happened, and they ledgered a Federal Reserve note as a debt. Look at that receipt. Even if you use a credit card, look at the receipt. They're still ledgering it as a debt. U.S. debit. You got to fix it. And the only way to fix it is by helping them understand you must first define that dollar before you can charge me a dollar. So I left the tags with her. I had a driver's license, but since coming to the truth that if I am to live, move, and have my being in Christ Jesus, then I could no longer have such things because it would attach me to something outside of him. He's no respecter of person. This is why you have to disconnect from that. You have to understand it is not you. It is not yourself. It is a derivative that somebody else created for their convenience. Something unclean. So I went to the sheriff's house and witnessed to him what had happened at the courthouse and laid the driver's license at his feet. After several months being led by the Spirit, I went to the next county over, Gosper County. When I arrived, their sheriff was on the courthouse lawn. I explained to him what transpired in the next county over, where he'd done this stuff, and told him that if he would like to go into the treasurer's office, and if he would define what a dollar is, then I would be more than happy to acquire the things they said I needed. He said that would not be necessary. Almost a year had passed without incident, even though the powers that be knew I didn't have all of their fictions of idolatry. This is the same case here. These people around here know I don't have these fictions of idolatry. Then Frontier County must have had a lot of pressure bearing down on them from good citizens concerning the fact that I did not have a license or registration. All these people watching him travel around the community without plates and license and everything got butthurt and in their emotions and called the police and tattled on him for not having a license because they think that you are required to have a license. That's their fault. So I was arrested one evening and taken to jail. They tried to talk me into paying bail and bonding myself out of jail. I asked them what it is they needed for me to bond myself out of jail, and they told me dollars. Every last one of these people is looking for dollars. Okay? Every last one of them is looking for a dollar, and they can't define dollar. I see we lost John. Jay, I really don't care who you are. The panel link's down there for you if you want to come up. But 42 years old, never been to jail, so what you saying makes no sense. So what you saying make no sense. Learn some English, motherfucker. If I'm not paying with money, why would jobs pay with other than... Come on, man. Get some fucking intellect before you come up here trying to make some kind of insult or issue. If you don't know this, then you're the one that's detrimental to yourself because of your own idiocy. A man's intellect is limited and biased by their vocabulary. So let's see what else. It says, I've been paying for 28 years and my ancestors did their wild life. Are you CIA? Seems like a lot of people just trying to piss people off. So that's why you're here making dumb comments. Quadrillion are being circulated why K to spread lies sounds like a psyop. Come on, dude. We have no way to pay. Yes. Job quit paying? Yes. You don't understand how the system works on credits? 15 U.S.C. 1602. Credit card means any card, plate, coupon book, or other credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. So if you can obtain those things on credit, such as money, then where are you getting your money? Are you being given credit for your labor? No, you're getting money. You're getting money. Paper documents or an electronic transfer where they turn around and you get a withdrawal from the bank and they give you paper money. Instead of using the credit system itself for this electronic funds transfers, already protected under the federal regulations. Robert Joseph Wise says, devices not connected. So anyway, yeah, Jay, come on up if you have any courage to run your babbling mouth up here. And understand, this isn't a drama panel, so it's not going to be a matter of letting you talk over anybody. I'll give you your mind and peace to speak whatever you need to speak. And then when it's my turn, you don't sit there and interrupt me as if though you're going to try to project your idiocy. I'm going to let you project your idiocy in your speaking first, and then I'll tear it down. Because you obviously don't know what the fuck you are talking about. Yeah. Why are you here, Jay? If you're not here to learn, then you're obviously here to teach. So come on up and teach instead of running your mouth down in the chat as if though you know what you're talking about while explicitly showing people your idiocy. One-word comments, dumb. Two-word comments, know what? Question mark. Know what? Know what? That's not a proper question. Dumb with a question mark. That's not a proper question. You're asking your Y-O-U-R, asking poor, while poor. Not even complete statements, and you don't even know how to spell your. Why are you all here every day? I never show, bro. Of course you never show, because you ain't got nothing to show. Greetings, Robert. How you doing today?
Good, thank you. I'm kind of new, just checking out this studio. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, brother.
Okay, I watch your videos a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very impressive.
Well, all glory goes to him. He's the one that showed me to rightly divide the word of truth, and that's simply by going through and reading the things and showing how they use the language. And it's like the guy down in chat, Jay. Don't know who he is, don't give a shit. So obviously, voice.
Have you ever heard of Bruce McCarthy?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Called the Datum Line. He used to talk a lot about the money issue. He was on RBN, Republic Broadcasting Network. I don't know if you ever heard of that radio station.
Yep.
But he was really into this subject. Very interesting. He died, you know. Rest in peace. But I'll let you continue on.
All right, appreciate it. Appreciate it. And as Jay says, voice to text. And that's one of the things I'm talking about. Even in voice to text, you don't have concise English. You don't even know how to fucking speak right. So let's get back into it and get away from this ignorance ass. And I explained to them that if they would define dollars, I would be more than happy to pay you in dollars. And they kind of jokingly laughed and they said, oh, this is dollars. And they pulled out Federal Reserve notes. No, those are not dollars. They have a dollar value, again, like I said earlier, but they are Federal Reserve notes. That's what they say across the top. That's what they are, is Federal Reserve notes. And a Federal Reserve note is a promise to pay, and that promise to pay is the promise to pay $1. So again, what is the dollar? And I explained to them that right at the top, if it says Federal Reserve notes, and a note is only as promise to pay, and I cannot pay you with those because I would still be owing you something that you are demanding. See, that's the problem. If you can use that Federal Reserve note to pay something, then why isn't there discharge? And if there's no discharge, or if there's supposed to be discharge, what is it they're supposed to discharge? They're supposed to discharge the credit. See, they charge you credit and then demand that you pay in dollars. And then when you pay that in that Federal Reserve note, they don't discharge the credits back to you. That's currency. That's what the discharge is supposed to be for. So when you're using those cards correctly and you get that receipt that says U.S. debit, when the card itself says Keith Little, they got credits from you and they're charging a debt against the United States, saying the United States still owes them. So they got your credits and then never did a discharge properly so that the circulation would or the credits would circulate. Some friends who were worried about me came and produced the so-called bail money. I made several mistakes, such as signing the release form, which I know not to do now, and that is why I'm giving a testimony to other brothers and sisters so they will not make the same mistake. So it sounds like he came upon the same thing, that I ain't signing no more. I was in the lion's den, and they swore to God they weren't going to let me out unless I signed that release paperwork. I simply pulled out the judge's discharge order and asked them if they were going to violate the judge's discharge order. I was out of there quicker than I'd been out of there in 30 fucking years. Greetings, Goldsmith. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How you doing today, Keith?
Good, good.
Another great show.
Well, is what this guy's saying making sense to you?
Yeah, definitely.
It's almost paralleling my own story. If you go back and listen to my story for the last 8 years, I've been harping on the same damn thing. I'm not going to sign anymore. Something's wrong with the signatures, qualifying something I don't know about. And in that, you're demanding, even if I don't sign, you're demanding all my property in the form of money or dollars. And you people don't understand either one of them. I do. Money, that's the paper. Every piece of paper can be considered money, whether it's blank, whether it's an envelope, whether it's got things written on it. It can be considered money. Tom Sawyer, an old edition of Tom Sawyer, that is considered money. It's got value. Anything that's got value that can be put down, coin your words or purse your lips, anything that can be written down as valuable is money. Period.
Yeah, and all you have to do is give value to it.
Yep. And people have been giving value to this Federal Reserve System for way too long for a promise to pay, acknowledging that they're a debtor when the scripture says, "Oh, no man anything but to love." And that's because people believe we are born as sinners. No, we are born into sin. This is a material world that is ruled by Satan, and it's an operation of sin, and it's a test for us to supersede that sin. We are not born sinners. We are born into a world of sin, and if there's nobody there to teach us through knowledge how to avoid that sin and set that sin off to the side and not succumb to its greed and gluttony, then we will be sinners.
100%. 100%. This is definitely a spiritual journey.
Yep, absolutely. And again, the true benefit is the knowledge. If we don't learn this stuff, we're going to have people like Jay running all over the country in perpetuity, destroying the true gift. So it says, when I consented to be bailed, which I shouldn't have done, as we've been speaking about lately, that birth certificate is a bailment. It's already there. All it has to do is be processed for its credits. I made a promise to appear in court. So I decided to appear in court because, due to my ignorance, I gave a signature while in vinculus that sealed my promise to appear. That's in via coactus. It was during under threat. When the date came to appear in court, I kept the promise and appeared. During the court process, I had to suffer and go along with the questions because I made a mistake by not standing in the truth. Therefore, I was willing to take the punishment that was going to be prescribed to me. Since I had already attested that I would be there as a defendant, the judge asked me several different questions. Towards the end of the questioning, the judge asked, "How do you plead?" No contest. This is where I spoke yesterday on this. I'm not going to plead guilty or not guilty, and I'm not going to sit there and contest their or fight against their title or office. I'm going to contest the record. That's the only thing that needs to be contested. So it's not a matter of no contest. I plead contest of the record. It is an error. He goes on and says, "Very well. For the charge of driving without a driver's license, the penalty is 6 months in jail and a $2,500 fine. For the charge of not having a registration, the penalty is 6 months in jail and a $2,500 fine. For the charge of driving without a license plate, the penalty is 6 months in jail and $2,500 fine." Looking at the prosecuting attorney, how say ye? Prosecuting attorney says, "Due to this being his first offense, Your Honor, we will reduce the penalty to time served and a $250 fine." Judge wrote on a piece of paper and apparently moved all but $250 into the same category as time served. Then, looking at me, he said, "Your fine is $250. Can you pay?" Before we continue with this transcript, I must explain to the readers that during the time I was in jail, I was witnessing to the officers and jailers that I could not pay their dollars because nobody would define what a dollar is. When I was being released from jail, the sheriff in front of his deputy swore to me that the judge would define what a dollar is. Therefore, I intended to respond to the judge by saying, I would be more than happy to pay your fine if you would define dollars. But I never got to finish my sentence. Your Honor, I would be more than happy to pay your fine if, and the prosecutor jumps up, Your Honor! The prosecuting attorney jumped out of his chair and pointed at me. Due to this man's religious belief, he does not know what dollars are. See, I deal in the Lord's money. This is the parable of talents, going forth with your talents. And you're not supposed to hide that talent. For if you hide your talent, that's hiding the Lord's money. Now, what is a dollar? Anybody? See, even you guys can't tell me what a dollar is.
Dollar is credit.
It's a value system. Greetings, Anthony Zaka. How you doing today, brother? You're muted still. You're still muted there, brother. I imagine he's going to a quiet place. Nope. Still no sound. Let me check. There you go. You're just lagging. You're just lagging. And hold on, guys. I'll be right back.
Yes, what a great conversation. But you've got these people coming in like Jay. They're just disrupting. You know, they're all actors. You're getting close to the truth here, speaking about it, and people like Jay just don't want this to continue because education's going on.
I would say Jay is just uninformed. You know, he just uninformed. Like the Bible say, forgive them for they know not what they
Okay.
do.
My apologies. My apologies. So we got Anthony with us. My apologies, brother. How you doing? We've got some lag.
Yes, yeah, lag. But yeah, what a great conversation. Been listening to you guys for some time now, learning lots.
Great. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Always welcome and glad to have you. And so what we're doing here is we're talking about that spiritual warfare, and this is truly what it is. Due to this man's religious beliefs, he does not know what dollars are. To the best of my memory, I had never met or talked with this man before. I can only say that the question must have made all the rounds considering the judge's response. Okay, we'll take care of this. We'll take the amount of time served and apply it to the amount of the fee. The judge wrote on a piece of paper and apparently moved the $250 into the same category as the 5 days served. Case dismissed. You're free to go. Looking at deputy, take him to the clerk to see if he has anything to sign. Michael, wait a minute. Did you not tell me I was free to go? Oh, this is just preliminary. 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 There's a term in here, liminal, such as subliminal. This is preliminal, or what they call preliminary. So I went to the deputy who brought me to the clerk's desk. After the clerk looked through the papers, he said, you have nothing to sign here, but there's the matter of the bond that was paid for your release from jail. I did not pay a bond, and therefore it is not mine to receive. If there was something paid, then you must find the fellow that paid it. If it was paid, what was it paid in? Did they pay in dollars? as they demanded? No. They gave him a bond and paid for the bond in Federal Reserve notes. So no one got the credit yet. Again, still didn't get discharged. Deputy, due to this man's religion, he does not know what dollars are. He said this facetiously and sarcastically. This same deputy had said earlier during the booking process that he would be back the next day, saying, I will take your fingerprints. His threats and demands were never carried out because he doesn't know what a dollar is. Okay, there's nothing for you to sign then. Goodbye. So it's the same situation that I had with the courts when they said that they sentenced me to 60 days. I did 43 and got out with good time in 43 days. That's when I received the judge's discharge order was on the 43rd day. And while the ink was still fresh and wet, they tried telling me they weren't going to let me out unless I signed. I'm sorry. The last document signed by your authority says discharge. Now you're threatening that you're not going to discharge me despite his order. See, it no longer has anything to do with me. I don't know what your system is, but I do know the reading and the writing says release paperwork. I'm not going to do your paperwork by releasing my personal services by signing in any capacity on that paper at all. That's an official document. I am not an official. I am, in fact, the one you're obligated as an official to. And you're standing here threatening that you're going to let me out. See, I know this system so much better than they do. I don't know that they could take me to jail anymore. That trespass, impunity. That's what the problem was just now when I had to take a second. This school up here, this Christian school, Waterloo Christian School, that tried to trespass me, say I couldn't go from point A to point B and go across their parking lot as expediently as possible without bothering anybody. Now it's nice out and springtime, and their spring track members that are supposed to be running around up there on the track want to come running around in the neighborhood, and they see my dog. My dog wants to play with them. My dog's 100 pounds. I don't know that he's not going to do anything to him, but I don't think he would. He's a child himself. He loves people. But they get antagonized and fearful because they're running by and all of a sudden they don't know he's there. They come around the corner. He comes charging at him. He's on a lead. He can't reach him. But then they go back up, and the next thing you know, they go by the bench up there, grab their phones, and come running back down so they can take pictures of my dog being aggressive. Leave me and my motherfucking dog alone. You told me to leave you alone. You better fucking leave me alone too. This is the insanity we have. People live in fear. It's bullshit. So anyway, we are done with that. You guys have any idea what a dollar is yet?
Credit, evidence of credit. A debt owed.
Yep, and you've got to understand that everything comes from the original credit, and that is our Father which art in heaven, and we are just a pass-through. So in that pass-through, as electrical bodies, these batteries that we are, it's just like a transformer. And we can either step up that energy, or we can be a step-down transformer. We can be a limitation or an empowerment. What do you choose to be? That's all I'm asking. If you really want to have empowerment, the true power comes from him. Therefore, your pass-through is for his power. If you're going to act as a pass-through for their power, it's a limitation, and you're just going to step everything down. You're not going to go beyond the borders that they limit you to. That's why they don't like me. I go beyond the borders. You're not my daddy. You're not going to hold me to this land and say that I can't leave this country because I don't have a passport. Who the fuck are you? professing to have the Constitution as the supreme law of the land based on scriptures, and you're going to demand a passport of a man that uses those scriptures profoundly in his life in violation of Psalms 121 verse 8. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And when is that time? Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou was cast from the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. That's why we have the right to go in and out, because he ordained us so. And the duty in doing that is to profess the redemption to the land and to our brothers in all of the lands that shall not be sold forever. We are strangers and sojourners with him, because they are his lands. That's the empowerment. So it doesn't matter whether they want to define a dollar or not. We still get to redeem it. We still get to grant the redemption, the indemnification, the forgiveness, the cancellation of debt. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for that is to fulfill the law. So anything less than that is a limitation. It's a law that they use that it's posed as a law that isn't law. Again, Article 1, Section 8 Constitution of the Constitution, Clause 17 or Clause 14. Congress shall make rules for the government. It never says anywhere that they are making laws. They are adopting and enacting rules that they may call public laws. But that's it. None of it's law, and it's all based on a conscription of a dollar that doesn't exist. Because no one's defining it.
All right. Exactly. It's all a construction.
How do you expect to build a house of cards if you can't define cards? Same thing with dollars. How do you expect to make a profit if you can't define what a dollar is? These people aren't making profits. What they're doing is they're taking the loss, taking advantage of a loss of another man. That's not a profit. That's theft. And whether you know it or not doesn't mean it's not theft. It's an unlawful taking. A license is that which is granted by an authority to do that which otherwise would be unlawful. You have a license so you can take money from another man. You have a license so you can commit theft. That theft is through conversion of the words. Rightly dividing the word of truth. They can't steal from you. They can steal your body. But again, they can shackle my body all they want. They'll never shackle my mind. They'll never shackle my spirit. My body is a sacrifice. Because if I can't live in the flesh and blood of Christ as the way, the love, and the light, I don't have any other purpose as far as I know. I'm not here to be a slave to your bitch ass fucking commercial system. I'm not here to be a beta cuck. That isn't the word that was written in my heart before I was formed in the belly. I don't know about you.
Right. I like that document because that guy asked a lot of questions. He didn't get combative. He asked questions, and in asking questions, you're also able to educate people and just, you could play dumb, but you know the answer to the questions that you're answering. And the thing is, you know the answer to the questions that you're asking.
Yeah, and here's Jay. I've got to give you've got a good question now, and I appreciate these questions because when I refer to God or Him, it's only because the rest of the people in the world recognize it as, quote, God or whatever. My definition of the God that everybody else professes they know is merely the creation. And I don't know what started it all. All I know is that there was something greater before us. And without that, we are nothing, period. And as to your next one, this isn't a commercial platform. Yes, StreamYard is a commercial platform. But my contract with StreamYard is only as a contract with them. That's private. This here is public, and it's a matter of informing others. This is a freedom of expression. I don't use it commercially. I paid for it supposedly in a commercial system so that I could be availed a greater platform. The more people that can come up on my platform, the more channels I can stream to, the more hours of videos I can have recorded, things like that. So I can put this information out at a greater aspect. But we, as YouTube here, El Perro, Heckle-Bus, Keith Little, Paul Jr., Wyrd Wyzard, all my other channels, none of them are monetized. It is not for commercial purposes. There was a commercial aspect to get the ball rolling, but that's done and over with. That contract has been completed and paid for. And now the only thing left is my services being provided by StreamYard to carry out their part of the contract. My part of the contract has already been done. That's the payment part. And it was done through a credit system. So anyway, you guys got anything else on that? I mean, this is one of the most profound discussion topics that we need to get into. I think is the entire base foundation of what is the value system in your life. Are you still using that U.S. dollar, the Federal Reserve note, their property to place a valuation system for your life? Or is there a value to it before you were even brought into this world that you need to recognize or come to know?
Right. Right.
Come on, Jay. If there wasn't a commercial platform, we would die. Come on, really?
Man, are the birds
That
dying?
would play that would placate that the commercial system came first and then came life.
All you have to do is just walk outside and look at the trees and the birds and all the animals running around. No commercial system.
Come on, get out of your cognitive dissonance. Learn some reason and logic. Logic is a pattern of things in an order. First there came this, and then there came this. It did not come commercially first, and then came life. Put your shit in order. And with that, we come to the end of this stream. I'll be back at 6 and 9 with a couple others. You guys got anything to say on the way out? I love all kinds of input, and it doesn't matter what you got to say. Let's say it.
That was great. That was great. I sent you a book in your email. I think everyone should check out. It's a very great book. It's Narrow is the Gate, Straight the Way.
Oh yeah, yep. I did get that. Yes, I did.
Yeah, that's a very good book. I think everyone should read it.
And that's one thing that I think everybody should look into as well as another book, The Fruits of the Poisonous Tree. Because the fruits of the poisonous tree is the very terminology. They're using the English language as a rooted system. Understand that, as a rooted system. It's got a root system. It comes up in a trunk for everybody can see, and it spreads out, and everybody can eat off of that fruit, the fruit of that tree. But that's the discord. That's not the true language. So we have to get to the roots, because that's where the benefit is, the knowledge. The fruit isn't the benefit. The roots are. All right. Anything else there? You got anything, Anthony? It was great having you up. You sound. Where are you from? I'm here, the Americas.
Yes, I'm from Australia. I reside here in Tennessee now. I've been in Tennessee for 3 years. I got pulled over for traveling without a license, and they've locked me up predominantly every month since March last year. It's just ridiculous. All because I've questioned the two judges here, one being a city judge, the other being a county judge. It's ridiculous. $250,000 bond was my last sitting with these guys. They're trying to break me. You know, I think that's what it comes down to. I think they're dealing with such how can I say, men without spirit, and I don't think they've come across somebody like myself here in this little town. So
Yeah, And that's truly what it is. It's a spiritual warfare, and that's why I say I've had to accept my own fault and blame in it, and I'm not here to accuse them. I'm here to repent for my own actions. In repenting for my own actions, they should see that and they should treat me differently because I can understand why they treated me the way they did before. I was, in fact, looking and acting a lot like a heathen.
Right.
Now I know better, and I know my place in this society isn't just to act out and go beyond the limits, but to know what those limits are and not to stretch them too far so I don't cause discord with those other people. I don't need to be traveling around with no plates and no license while somebody else is, everybody in the neighborhood is calling up and trying to have me arrested for it. I need to explain to the whole community how that works. And that's an educational thing, not a showmanship thing.
Yes, I
Right.
just
Granted,
want to. Yes, you're absolutely correct. I just want to travel freely, but I think I understand what's going on now. It's all to do with equity. It's all to do with money because my last bit of paperwork I signed with the UCC-1-308 as the beneficiary. The judge calls me back and he says, "You sign this. I do not accept your offer." And then he sent me back to prison and he says, "For the next 10 days, you figure out what you signed. And when you come back and redo this, let's hope you do it correctly." And yeah, it's going to be an interesting next couple of months where all this goes. Now that I've met you guys, I'm going to be well armed in the word. So I want to take these bastards on. I've got a FOIA request on the mayor, sheriff, police chief, uh, the two judges. So we'll see where all this goes.
yeah, absolutely, and that's all we can do is just start standing up in the truth of the words. We've got to learn how to do this as a non-offensive matter and just a peaceful. Like I said earlier, if you want equity, you got to come with equity. So you have to come with an understanding that they may misunderstand, and that even though they are supposed to know the law, they may not. So we have to be gracious in forgiveness. Um, Love thy neighbor as thyself. If we can forgive ourselves, then we have to forgive them as well. This is the base foundation of peace in the spiritual world, and that's why the dollar is debasing that. That's what the dollar is debasing, the spiritual value of seeing in our brother what we see in ourselves. So,
Right. And that's another hard part. I know when I first came into this information, I just assumed that everybody that I was dealing with knew this stuff. And so I would get combative with them and argue with clerks and everything. And then at one point I asked myself, it's like, if my mother was one of those clerks, how would I appreciate that? I would be I'll be ready to tell my mom, call me to your job right now so I can beat the shit out of whoever talked to you like that. So I had to check myself and come at it at a
yeah,
different angle.
absolutely. And Jay says, if you can get all these truckers out of this regulated system, then I might believe. Okay, I can't get all the truckers out of the regulated system. But what I can do is help show them how to create those contract terms and conditions for the equal benefit. Because that's all it is. It's the negotiations in the contracts so that you can qualify your position that while you're on the job, you will do this, this, and this. But while you're not on the job, you're not required to have that driver's license anymore. You're in your private capacity. Then why would you need another driver's license? Why would you need another ID if you're not in commerce? So if you are running a truck and you have that commercial license, that's your commercial arena. While you're not in your commercial arena, why would you need to carry evidence of that commercial arena? And if you do, is that going to be held against you? And if you don't, how do you rebut their assertion that you are in that commercial venue? Those are the three basics. So yeah, I can't get them out of the regulation because the regulation is there for the safety, not just ours, but theirs as well as drivers. And so when we take on the responsibility of knowing what those obligations and the safety measures and the incentives and stuff in those contracts are, then we can start uh, um, practicing those in a more adult and mature manner of comprehension. today we have so many people going around believing that they have to have the ID and believing that they have to have a driver's license when none of that is true. The only reason you would have those is to profess that you are a professional. Can I see your driver's license, please? Sure. You already professed your profession.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jay, keep coming back. Like I said, I do appreciate the questions if they're good ones, but I urge you to get unlearn the things you've learned and get back into some concise English. It would make the communications much better. And like I said, I'm here to try to educate people and learn from people at the same time. We're only reviewing information, and if you have a problem, please come up on the platform and speak. It says if we all sat here talking on platforms, we would fall. So what are you doing here? Are you here honestly looking for information, or are you here to babble and harass? Because I see both sides.
Yes, Keith. Keith, you just hit the nail on the head, mate. It's about language and being cordial, because people that come into this and don't really understand what the conversation's about, just because they've never been allowed to understand what the true word is. English. What is English? What are the words that we use? We don't even know the words we use. The terminology of
Yeah, and
we're all minors. Just when you look at it, it's like me speaking to an 8-year-old child. He doesn't understand acquisition.
absolutely, and this is why I love this thing. It's the thing on the dollar, and I'm going to drop it down in the chat for everybody so you can go read it. It's from ecclesia.org. And I'm going to drop it in back chat for you as well. See, we lost Goldsmith there, but so go check that out. Get familiar with them. There's a bunch of other stuff on that site in regards to driver's license and everything. I mean, the guy's got a lot of information, and just like me, he's coming to the same conclusions that I have, and I think it's imperative that we start coming together on this information so it can be comprehended by the general population. This is what they're not teaching in schools, is the civic side of it. The point of learning how to contract and the position of that contract in a trust. And it's imperative that we learn this. So.
Absolutely. No, it's been beautiful chatting with you, Keith. And look, I'm all ears. And the only reason I just came on today is because, people like Jay, I don't think they're all that bad. They're just
No.
and I was there at one point in time as well. Naive, not really understanding, the where we place ourselves. Because I've put myself in this point through education. I had no education on this. Didn't know how to talk to the officers. Didn't know how to talk to the judge. And I've put myself in this predicament through, not asking the question.
Yeah, and I was the same way. My last court appearance on sixth offense possession charge, they pulled me over with no plates. I had private property placards on. So instead of pushing it through as failure to have registered plates, they went for the other charge, which was possession. So we already see that they named the wrong charge first, because first they got to admit that I was traveling with unregistered plates and that I was required to have registered plates. If they can't do that, then they can't go beyond and do the search. So in their failure to recognize that as the original charge with subsequent charges, they already proved that their record is false. So despite the fact that you can see that I got charged with 60 days and all of that, it's still a win because I know what the record is reflecting today. I know they can't hold me on that anymore. I've broken down almost every word in that transcript, 256 pages, and I've gone through it multiple times, and I know what they are saying now. I know they've used 8 different styles of the name in one document. 8 different styles. Something's wrong there. Somebody doesn't know what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is very true. It's a room full of mirrors, Keith.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, it's done through the language. We have to overcome this language barrier. So with that, you got anything to say on the way out, Anthony? Last words?
Oh no, thank you very much. You're a gem, and I would like to talk to you at some point in time in the future before my case comes up. I've got trial in about 14 days. I'd just like just a minute or two chat with you anytime throughout the next week or so, and yeah, just touch base with you just to let you know where I'm at, and where I want to take this. But education's everything. And
All right. You bet. My email's down in the details section of every video, guys. Just look down there. I've got my different site links. I've got 5 different channels on YouTube linked down there. And then my email is down there. So feel free to contact me there, and we'll get together on that then. In the meantime, guys, you know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good day. We'll be back at 6. Hopefully we'll see you then. Bye now.